was able to join. She's had a busy work schedule, so she was able to hop on today. And I wanted to do something called a spotlight focus on Vicky today. And the reason I'm picking on her is not only with her weight loss success, but I want her to share with you her new and very ambitious goal for her fitness and training. And so, Vicky, if you wouldn't mind sharing with everybody your weight loss goal, how many weeks in you are, and then talk to us about your new fitness challenge goal that you've set for yourself.
Yeah, so I'm sure some of you have probably seen this in the group, but just to kind of give you some backstory, and I'll try not to take up too much time, but to give you some backstory and just like, who I am and how I've lived my life the last almost 49 years. So I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis at the age of 8. So I feel like I've spent the last 40 years in pain, in constant pain and inflammation, waking up in the mornings feeling like my joints just ache. I wasn't that little kid that got to go play in the yard. I never ran races with my friends. I wasn't in all of the sports. I just couldn't do it. I was in pain all the time. I honestly thought that it was a diagnosis I was just going to be living with for the rest of my life. And I was going to be, popping Advil forever. I mean, we're talking 12 a day, probably minimum, just to keep feeling like I was somewhat normal. And got kind of used to living in pain. Like it just became the norm. Started this and started to realize that the food I was eating was exacerbating that swelling and that joint inflammation and the pain. I didn't really realize it as I was changing my diet and what I was eating, but I noticed when I added back some really cruddy food that I felt horrible. It just was completely eye-opening that the food could make such a transition. And so along with that, I was able to start moving more and doing more. And I started with maybe a quarter of a mile walk, maybe walking for 10 minutes at a time, turn around, come back home, be sweaty, be out of breath. And then I just made it a little bit farther every single day. Every night I would walk a little bit farther to the next milestone in our area. And then when Nicole challenged us for, adding in, the idea of a little bit of running along with some walking. And after 6 weeks, we could do a 5K. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I wonder if I could do that. I am the person who never runs. I've always said if I'm running, I'm just going to lay down and somebody's going to kill me because, they're not going to chase after me. I don't even want to, run away from them. It's not worth it. But now I am going on, I'm doing the couch to 5K. I've done 2 independent 5Ks just at home now 2 Sundays in a row, and I have started to enroll in different 5K races. My goal is by the time I hit 55, which is right at my birthday's at the end of August, so I'll be 49 at the end of August. I've got just over 6 years to get this done, but is to run a 5K in every state across the nation. So my first one is scheduled for is Iowa at the end of August, right before my birthday. Right before my birthday, I'm gonna get my first one in, and then I have another one that I'm registered for in Illinois. And we're also looking at North Carolina and Virginia because we're going on a vacation at the end of September. So wanting to get a few in there too. So we'll see what happens, but I'm really excited because this really ties to my travel goal, which was one of those things that I put in my vision board, was to travel more and to see more of these areas that I never thought I could be a part of because I was always in pain and I was always feeling lethargic. And now it's so exciting to at 5:15 in the morning watching the sun come up as you're just at peace with feeling good again, or feeling good for the first time.
Inspiration, and thank you so much for sharing. I love this goal of yours. That's an amazing goal, and the fact that now you're registering, like you've registered for these races, right?
Yeah.
And so now it's becoming more real that this is happening for you. Do you find like you're getting any moments like you're freaking out and like self-doubting yourself, like, oh my gosh, what am I doing?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. Even last night, I was having, stressful, which I'm sure all of you women are in that same kind of stage of life where you're almost sandwiched between, your kids needing you, potentially your job needing you, your spouse needing you, your parents needing you. You're kind of in between all of those things, and everybody's pulling on a limb in a different direction. And that's kind of where I was last night. And I looked at my husband and I'm like, I don't even know why I set these darn goals for myself, because I didn't am just pulled by so many people. And I'm like, no, no, stop it. This is the one thing that's just for me. It's just for me. And it was like I had to say that out loud and reconnect with it's okay to put myself first sometimes. So it's really been transformational. But yeah, having those freak out moments of too many people need me. I can't be gone. I can't be devoting myself to this, and then just stop that thought process, because that is not getting me anywhere. That's getting me where I used to be. And I don't want to be that person again. So
I love this new Vicky that you're becoming, right? Like I love this. And all of you ladies, like as you start to go through your transformation and you're starting to change, and it's scary and it's unknown because you've not been here before, right? Like that's scary, and it takes a lot to step out of your comfort zone. We're at the ages too that it's easy to settle in and just be comfortable, right? Like, we got life and we're doing work and family and we could just be comfortable. But the fact that you've decided to get uncomfortable and go for something that's making you feel wonderful, right? Like you're
yeah,
feeling great physically, emotionally, even though it's hard, right? Everything is hard, but you can either have your hard, whether it's getting up early to get your sunrise runs in, or is it hard because you're hurting, right? And you've chosen to
yeah,
choose the hard, like
yeah,
to improve your health, which is awesome.
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. I just want to say too, to all of you guys on in the group, and coaching is everything. Coaching has transformed all of this. If I was doing this on my own, I would have probably given up before I ever, started putting on shoes and going any farther in this distance of walking slash running slash jogging, whatever you want to call it. But the group keeps motivating me, and you guys keep coming back with more, just that little bit of push, to let me know that I'm not alone. I'm not the only one that goes through the struggles, and that we will come through on the other side as a group. And so I hope I can be as helpful and supportive to you guys as well. So I really appreciate that from the leaders who have already graduated and are still sticking around to help us out, to Nicole, to all of us. So I really appreciate you guys.
Awesome, Vicky. So where are you at with your weight loss right now?
This morning was 28.2 pounds. Very, very happy about. And I noticed, like, there are certain things that, you try to add something new into your diet, or you try something different, and then your body doesn't react in the way that you expected. You go back to the drawing board, and you go back to the real foods and the whole grains and all of this. And you're like, oh, and look, it just starts coming right off again. So I'm like, it all comes back to that, the mindset of the real foods, and, fruits and veggies and nuts and seeds and all of those things. And it's crazy how I knew it, but I didn't actually do it until joining this group.
Vulnerable. You've become so vulnerable in the group, and you've shared your struggles, right? Because I think that's key when we are feeling comfortable enough to become vulnerable and share, like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to give up, like this, once we have those moments, I feel like that is when, you're letting those walls down, and like, this is tough. Like, I'm having this tough struggle. Those are the times that it's like you're walking through this door of transformation. Like, once you're really feeling it and honest with yourself and honest with the group. And I feel like that is key to really going through a transformation, is just getting honest with yourself. but you
Yeah.
have, yeah,
It's
yeah.
funny, like about week 3, week 4, I had lost pretty quick those first couple of weeks, but about week 4, I started going back up on the scale and I didn't know why. And I was mad and I'm just like posting in the group, this is stupid. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm done. And Jessica and I mean, all these people are, the graduates jump on, you got to stick with it. You can do it. All of these things, all of these, motivational things. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to stick with it. It's fine. And, now I get on the scale and I see like maybe half a pound up one day. And maybe the next day I go up a full pound and I laugh at the scale. I'm like, you're hilarious. As if I ate 3,500 calories yesterday. Whatever, just at scale. Whereas 2 months ago, I put all of my value on that number on that scale. And that is a true transformation to look at that and just laugh at it and go, whatever, moving on. So I hope you all can be there too.
Yeah. That's a hard place to get to. And the awesome piece is that you've worked towards that. That's awesome. Thanks,
Thanks.
Vicky.